Hello everyone, this is 1-800-LAWYER-UP from FormalFocus.com, and welcome to episode 11 of my secret public diary entitled Building a Career. It's going to be a two-part series. The next part I'm going to release next week, every Saturday, of course. This first part, however, is going to focus on the external factors which come with building a career and sort of the things you should be looking for, maybe things that you may have not thought of initially. I know I probably have a younger audience. So this is all advice that I wish I would have received when I was your age. But again, I am a lawyer. I crossed the bar in 2018. However, I was able to make some wise financial decisions, and I no longer have to work. I'm quasi-retired. So according to the Law Society of Alberta, I cannot give out any legal advice whatsoever. I'm not a CPA or CMA, so this is not any financial advice too as well. It's for entertainment purposes only. And this is entirely unscripted. This is just my unfiltered thoughts. And it's just to kind of pay it forward. I was very fortunate in my life and had a lot of people help me out. So this is my attempt to reach kind of a wider audience and hopefully help you guys out. So that's that. We all know the rules. I think the best starting point is figuring out what job interests you. You've reached a certain age. Most of you are probably in your late teens or your early 20s or mid-20s, or about to go to your mid-20s. And just so you know, there are a lot of people, at least that in my friendship circle, who've changed career paths and stuff like that, and a lot of them feel, the 4 years that they wasted at post-secondary, or the 4 years trying to build that startup after high school, which completely flopped, was a waste of time. But I'm here to tell you that's kind of the norm in 2020. It's very rare that people can identify almost immediately where they want to go and who they want to be career-wise, and then go after it, right? Oftentimes it's trial and error, but you think maybe be something that would interest you actually doesn't end up interesting you. Personally, for me, I actually thought I was going to be a computer programmer / game developer, but when I took my first computer science course, I realized that there were, number one, no girls in the class, and number two, programming is insanely difficult. And my hat's off to anyone who's able to do it. I, of course, switched over to criminology, which is a double major in sociology and psychology. Did really well with that, and then ended up going to law school and becoming a lawyer. But that's enough about that, but it's a good segue into what I'm going to be talking about next, which is what interests you. So figure out which classes you kind of excel at or you have a natural propensity to, and then look to see if your university or your college or your technical college actually offers any bursaries or grants, right? Because that'll help out a lot with tuition. Because one of the things that actually takes off the pressure when you finish your education and you're looking for job prospects or employment is since you're kind of buried under a mountain of student loans, there's a tendency to kind of take the first job offer that is coming to you. I would prefer picking a job that has a good starting rate and is something that you can enjoy, and the people, your coworkers, are very supportive. You don't want to take just kind of like the first job that comes to you unless, it's slim pickings, right? So one of the things with the school program which would help financially is bursaries, grants. A lot of the universities, they don't publicly advertise what scholarships or grants that you can apply for. You have to actively search on your school's website to see scholarship information. I actually applied for anything and everything. I didn't even look at kind of the requirements. If there was an opportunity for me to send in an application, then I would. I think there was a grant. I forget if it was for my faculty in specific or if it was university-wide, but it was like an African-American or African-Canadian, I guess, scholarship. And, I was selected or a finalist for it, and they realized it was actually Asian and couldn't actually apply for it. But yeah, apply for anything and everything. It's actually free money. It's like asking an aunt or uncle who's just rolling in the Benjamins or the Beavers or Blue Jays, I guess, if you're Canadian and you're trying to figure out lingo for money. But yeah, look to see if there's a co-op program too as well. So that's like a natural segue into the actual work environment. You get good experience, and a lot of employers are looking for people who come from co-op programs because they know that it'll cut down on the amount of training, right, that they actually have to do. So now you're actually starting the job, right? So number one, when you're looking for employment and you're starting a job, you got to make sure that the job that you're taking on, there's a demand for your skills for that particular job. You want to make sure that your job actually increases the amount of experience you have. So you want to make sure that your educational program actually best suits you for that job. But in addition, you want to make sure your job actually teaches you something in addition to what the schooling never taught you. So that's kind of like the X factor that you're going to need moving forward if you decide to find another job, or let's say your job sector just completely gets slashed and there are layoffs. You still have your education to fall back on, as well as your experience, which is rich because it teaches you things in addition to your education that people who are just graduating won't know. So it kind of gives you an X factor. The things to look for your job is your starting salary. If there's improvement, if there's a roof to that, how much do you actually increase in your salary? As I said before, I think it might have been the second Secret Public Diary where I talk about inflation and how much the quality of life gets more expensive. So I think on average, if you're part of a job that has tiered raising, so like you get a salary increase every year, it's usually around 3 to 4%, but inflation actually increases either the same amount or even more. So you're actually making the money that you're making maybe on paper more, but at a technical level, when you're comparing to how much you're actually paying to maintain your quality of life, it's actually less because things around you become more expensive, whereas the money you actually get paid is proportionally as a percentage less. Another thing too is, do you get tax benefits from your job? So let's say you're a specialized worker, you're making 100K. You should incorporate, and I may talk about that in another episode, but incorporation is basically making a separate legal identity. So there's a corporation that actually gets paid. You don't get paid personally, but your professional corporation does. So I wouldn't be paid as 1-800-LAWYER-UP. I'd be paid as 1-800-LAWYER-UP professional corporation. And then me, 1-800-LAWYER-UP, the person, would just be an employee of that corporation, and the corporation would just be paying me a salary. That way, if I'm making 6 figures or more, I won't be dinged with the highest tax bracket. And in addition to that, you can also deduct a bunch of stuff. So let's say I'm a practicing lawyer, right? And I can deduct my travel expenses, my car, some of my monthly lease payments, or even a good portion of the payments I've decided to buy it outright or finance. My gas, dinners, stuff like that for clients. Lunches, suits even sometimes, printers, you get the idea. So there are a lot of benefits to incorporation. You should look into that. I may get into another Secret Public Diary, but I don't want to get too much into the legal stuff since I'm not actively practicing, and this is for entertainment purposes only, and a lot of the subject matter is complicated, but take a look into that. Even if you don't decide to incorporate, your job may even have benefits on its own. So as an engineer, do you get specific treatment to like car and house insurance? I know that insurance companies, they don't actively advertise it since it takes a lot of money from them, but always ask. Also see like job security, stuff like health and dental. Are you unionized? If you are a unionized job, then you typically have a lot more security than someone in the private sector. You want to take a look over at the turnover rate, and the 2 final questions is this a job I can do for a very long time? And if I can't do it for a long time, is the skills that I'm kind of accruing and the experience I'm getting from this job will allow me to segue into something else? So you want to look into the versatility of jobs, the jobs in your area, how much the starting salary is, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next episode where I cover the intrinsic values to a job. Thank you.